What is up, YouTube? Snow Grace back again with ADHD Garage, and today I'm tearing down these 99 NB Miata subframes, putting my 91 NA. So we've taken all the control arms off, all suspension, differential, axles, brakes, everything. That's something you'd like to see. Stick around and we'll make it happen. Let's get into it. So here you have your factory 99 Miata subframe right here. Steering rack, sway bar, upper and lower control arms, the outer knuckle, brakes, wheels of course, shocks and springs. So to start off, we'll be tearing down this front subframe here. I usually have it posted up on some blocks of wood. If you have a friend nearby or possibly more resources, you can get a little bit higher up, maybe on a bench or something. For starters, I'll be taking off the wheels and tires here. They should be 21mm lug nuts. And most of the sizes you'll deal with are your standard metric sizes. 15, 17, 19, maybe a few 21s here and there. Smaller sizes, of course, 10, 12. Every once in a while you'll get like maybe an 11 or a 13. There's a few 14s here and there. But keep in mind, these cars are 20, 30 years old. You're going to find a lot of mix match hardware on these. You have no clue what the previous owner has done. Luckily enough, these are completely stock, all factory parts, so they will be a bit seized in places. Show you how to deal with that one later, but not too bad to tear down. Here we go. That concludes the teardown of the NB1 subframe. I have the upper and lower control arms off to the side here. All the bolts and nuts are put back in place. Steering rack, OEM front sway bar, both knuckles, both calipers, and both struts and springs. All of the bolts and nuts will be going through electrolysis. I'll see which ones are worth keeping, replace the ones that aren't, of course. Then I'll be sandblasting / vapor blasting all of the parts and powder coating them in a nice finish. I'm not sure what it'll be yet. If you have any suggestions, drop it in the comments. I might be able to look at it. Next up, we have to tear down the 99 NB rear subframe and the 430 Type 2 torsion differential, which is connected to the factory 5-speed. So this here is a PPF, which if you're not a Miata guy, you may not know a whole lot about. The PPF connects the transmission to the differential and decreases that torsional twist that the engine gives the rest of the drivetrain. Next up, we'll have to disconnect those two bolts there, the drive shaft. We can separate the transmission from the rest of this, and we'll drop the differential out of the rear, remove the wheels and tires, get the axles out of it, and we'll go from there. If you're looking forward to seeing that, stick around, let's get to it. both front and rear subframes are completely torn down with all the control arms separated and everything else separated from the two. Now I still need to get the alignment dowel out of the PPF going into the differential so I can replace the bushings on that as well and clean it up. Replace all the seals and gaskets on the transmission, give the shifter a rebuild kit as well. Press the axles out of the hubs here. Sandblast / vapor blast both subframes here. Press out all of these bushings and each control arm here. Get them ready for new Super Pro bushings back there. Take the front knuckles and replace the bearings. Get the 2 rear calipers rebuilt because I will be putting a big brake upgrade kit on the front end of the car. Rebuild the engine, etc. Lots of work to be done. Now it's time to drill out those bushings. Let's get to it. So I'll start off by setting up my DIY puller here. All it is a stud with two nuts locked together on the end. Multiple washers to keep them reinforced. This piece of tubing here, and we slide that through. Washer on the opposite end. And a nylock. And it should pull this the whole way through as we tighten it. Have to make sure to keep it lined up, it's a bit tricky. Looks like I'll have to grab a different wrench for next time. There we are. To make it a little bit easier on yourself, you notice I've trimmed the rubber ring off of the outside of each one of these control arms. The easiest way to go about that is by using a hole saw, just large enough to fit perfectly inside that ring. It'll trim that ring off perfectly. It'll allow that bushing to slip out with ease. It's the easiest way I've found to remove the differential bushings from an NA or NB Miata. It might work for other vehicles as well, I'm not sure. But seeing as these are a split casing design, where there's 2 halves of this metal sleeve around the bushing, when it's inside the differential arm itself, it squeezes the metal together, which actually puts a lot of tension on this rubber here. So it makes it so it grips the sides of this aluminum housing. Easiest way to get them out after years of them sitting in there, vibrating and seizing together, especially with our nice PA roads here, is to bring a lot of heat to them. That's where my turbo heater comes in, because the propane torch, weak sauce. Propane heater, top notch. Way faster work, makes it a breeze. I do not recommend that you do this inside unless you have multiple fans running and a lot of ventilation, as it does create some fumes. I understand that's not ideal for everybody. There is other options. If you want to drill out the bushings, press them out. I don't happen to have all those resources with me currently, so just use a little bit of heat, a little bit of elbow grease, and an 1 3/4 socket. Sits perfectly on top of that split casing style like I was talking about earlier, and it presses that bushing right out. You could also use a 45 or 46 millimeter if you wanted to. Other sizes may work as well, it's a little bit loose, but I happen to prefer the 1 3/4. It's the size my buddy recommended to me. Works great. Get the ends of the arms really hot. Take the socket. You'll be on this side, of course. Take the socket, sit it on top of the bushing, and you just start pounding it through. Let's get to it. Well, that concludes the teardown and bushing removal of the NA/NB subframes, control arms, differential, and steering rack. I did happen to film a little bit of me removing the bushings from the control arms, but I happen to have a buddy of mine who offered to use his press in exchange for a few bucks and a favor later on to remove the bushings for me. Saved me a little bit of time and a whole lot of hassle. but I got the differential bushings out myself, a little bit of heat in the socket that I showed you previously. Next up, we'll be cleaning up these subframes and control arms here, wire wheeling them / sandblasting, and getting ready for powder coat. Let's see what it entails. Stick around. Let's get to it.